All right, everybody. What is it called? Fun with lasers. That's a Sheldon instead of fun with flags. It's fun with lasers.
There you go.
Again. So let me move my thing down so you guys aren't looking at my chin, so I can see everybody there. So this week I found a couple of Lightburn commands that I've never seen before. Keyboard ones that I want to go through. Got a couple of cool little patterns for Christmas I wanted to show people, and how that they could modify that pattern for whatever their kid, grandkid, girlfriend, wife wants. And it's not a quilting thing. A couple of new patterns for show and tell with some vases that I made using test tubes. And
I'm sorry, did you say test tubes?
Test tubes, yeah. Well, glass vials. I don't know, whatever you call those.
No, that's cool. I wasn't sure I heard you right.
You were just testing me.
No.
So, let me see. Let's start. We'll start with the Lightburn part first. How about that? And then we can go straight from Lightburn into share the screen. I want to share my Lightburn screen. There. Let me, can you guys see the Lightburn screen?
Yes.
So,
is this just a coincidence that David brought up a T-Rex and your file name is T-Rex, or are you guys conspiring?
No, we're not conspiring.
Okay.
Because, see the one that I'm pointing at right here? Toothpaste Squeezer.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to show you. So this was the pattern that I got. It had Groot and a cat. And they're toothpaste squeezers. You put the toothpaste tube through there, and as you use it, you turn Groot's head and roll up the toothpaste.
Oh.
So but my grandson, my wife likes Groot, so that worked really good. But my grandson hates Groot, but he likes T-Rex. So I found a T-Rex pattern and put it on top of the toothpaste squeezer.
Wait, you decapitated Groot?
No, I decapitated the cat right here.
Oh, you decapitated the cat. I see, okay.
Yeah, cats are not my favorite animal. I'd much rather have T-Rexes or Groots than cats.
Got it.
Rocket's pretty cool too, but they bite. So let me show you so this is the toothpaste holder that I'm making. I'll show you when we get over to the laser. I'll show you the end product of the cat one, because my wife has already stole the Groot one and I haven't got the T-Rex one made yet. But let me show you the keyboard command that I found, because I'm always wanting to go 90 degrees, and it's just, I had to go up here and I type in 90 degrees, and I get it there. But I found the shortcut for 90 degrees on the keyboard is Shift greater than. Oh, now it's not going to work. Why is it not going to work? It's going to make a liar out of me. Oh, no, it's Shift, less than. That way works one way. One arrow works one way, and it goes 90 or 45 degrees at a time.
Cool.
So if you want to go 90, you just click it twice. It's a whole lot. I try and do as much with shortcuts and not type up here as I can. So now the cat's upside down, so we got to make it upside. All right. So if somebody wants this toothpaste squeezer pattern, I'll put it on the Google Drive after this. But that was my toothpaste squeezer and my cool keyboard shortcut for the day.
Yeah, good.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about was, and Lou's not here, so I can not pick on him, but Mark's here and Travis is here, so I can pick on them. The two things that I believe that everybody ought to modify their laser for first thing in life is a flow meter and a milliamp meter. So I'm gonna walk. Can you lock into my phone, Travis?
Sure can.
Stop sharing.
Good. You have to unshare the screen first. Okay.
Okay. There. And I have to figure out how to turn the phone around.
Actually, I don't see your phone on the. Oh, there it is.
How do I turn my phone around? So,
usually, if you touch the screen, it'll emerge as another option to click, and you click that.
There we go. So we're going to wander through the shop. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to mute this one. That one. Better turn the speaker off too. There. All right. Can we see and hear now?
Yes.
Okay. So the place is a mess as normal. But this is my flow meter right here. It's like $8. If you don't have one, and all it takes is you just split your, I split the input line to my laser instead of the output line, but you just split a line and run a hose up back or over the top and hook it in. And let me turn some noise off here. There. And you turn off the pump, and there you go. So there it is not running. And there it is running. So you got a visual indication every time that you got water flow. And if you don't hear anything falling on the floor, you know it's coming back, hopefully.
But Alan, when you purchased your laser, well, you got it from somebody, but when you got your laser, didn't you have a flow, not necessarily visual indicator, but a flow
switch?
Well, not so much a switch, but it was actually, it knew whether water was flowing or not. And
yeah, that's back down in there. You see it down. That's the replaced one.
Okay.
The one that was in before failed, and it failed closed. So it thought it had it running, but it didn't.
Okay, so you're advocating for, in addition to the flow detector, visual. Because you had it fail and there was no way for you to tell that it had failed until all of a sudden, I don't know, your tube cracked or something.
Yeah, little tube cracked, no minor problem.
Yeah, no big deal. You can overlook that.
Yeah, it's something to overlook. So
now, Alan, mine actually is, I wired in the alarm. So in my case, I know this for a fact because I've had it fail when Mark forgot to turn the water on. Mine actually shuts the laser down. So what's different between what yours did and that? Just out of curiosity.
That's what. So
if mine were to fail, the flow were to fail, the laser would stop firing, and it sets off an audible alarm on the.
And that's what was supposed to happen with mine. But what happens when that flow switch, which is what runs that logic, fails in a closed position?
Ah.
Okay. So it wouldn't work, then that would be a point of failure where the
right.
Yeah. That's when you hear this terrible sound of Pyrex breaking and things dripping on the floor because there's no water flowing through it. It's just water dripping on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I advocate that. Everybody and their brother should have one of those. It's $10 and actually, about another probably. So it's probably about $18 to put in by the time you buy these elbows here, and you have to buy a stupid plug. So you can run water out of it in and out 3 different ways, but they don't give you a plug for here. So you got to go buy this plug, buy the 2 elbows, a couple extra straps or a couple extra wire wraps there and wire ties. But the other thing is,
Alan,
sir?
Before you go over to the Milliamp Meter, I seem to recall that Mark did some wiring into his chiller that had to do with water flow. Mark, was that temperature?
No, it basically, if the chiller's not, if there's no flow, the chiller senses it and it shuts the laser down as well.
So you have two fails if water's not flowing, sensed in the chiller and sensed in your flow indicator in the laser.
Right, but in Alan's case where the switch failed, closed, yeah, my alarm would go off on my chiller. Yeah.
Right. And so Alan, in the back of you have a CW5000, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so does Alan. And so, there's a connector on the back, Alan, that we don't use. I don't know that
the one we don't use.
Yeah, exactly. That is what Mark wired into. I hadn't seen it used before by people, but it's a secondary flow detection point. And as Mark just said, if yours had failed in the laser, it could still have been detected as not flowing inside the chiller and would have shut the laser down. So if someone is using a CW5000, and I suspect probably the 3000 also, that wiring is an alternative. And Mark, I don't remember at a high level, can you describe how you wired that?
I remember sure, at a high level, I rewired the whole laser when I got there.
Oh yeah, there was that whole exercise, yeah.
when you open the top, it also shuts the laser off. Well, in series, I put the alarm in there so that if it triggers an alarm, it opens that up, just like it would opening the top of the laser.
Oh, so you used, I see. Okay,
The
so
same circuit, yeah.
Same circuit, the same logic
Right.
as would have been there. Yours, unlike Alan's and mine, yours did have a door open or closed switch.
Yes,
And
but
you
it
used the
but
same
it used to
logic.
shut the whole laser down, remember? And then the stop
Yes.
button would just turn the laser off.
Yes.
So I rewired that so that the switch that when you open the door just stops the laser from firing, though the head will keep moving. And the emergency switch actually shuts all the power down. And then in series, I wired the alarm for the chiller.
Got it. Got it. Is it pretty straightforward? Is it really just like 5 volts across 2 terminals or something?
Yeah, in hindsight it is, but when you have a brand new laser that you've never fired and the wires are all over the ground and your wife comes out and screeches, it's a little scary.
And it didn't behave anything like you were expecting it to behave. Yeah, that was kind of fun to watch happen with you.
I have to say, Travis saved me that night. I was like panicked like crazy. Nothing was working the way I expected it to. Everything worked ass backwards and upside down, and I was like totally freaking out. Then he just goes, well, you just switch these 2 wires. And I go in there and I look, and apparently they had done a lot more wiring at the shop than anybody let anybody know. Yeah. And well, Ellen, you know this because you've worked on your Chinese laser. You take those raceways apart, and the wires are just knotted in there. I mean, they don't lay them down. It's like spaghetti in there.
Yeah, mine they even spliced mine. I don't know what they spent time to splice it rather than to put a long enough wire to go from point A to point B. It's
I like the color coding, right? Because sometimes red is hot, sometimes yellow is hot, sometimes white is hot.
Yeah. Yeah, so people don't get too much of a wrong impression where Mark's compliments were concerned. I didn't actually do a lot of the work by myself. Pat Duffy and I had to rewire the large blue laser so that it behaved like the green laser. We wanted to train people with one workflow and have the 2 act almost identically. And so we had the same shock that Mark did. We opened up the lid and the entire laser shuts down. It was ridiculous.
It loses everything. It just it's like pulling the plug out of the wall.
Yeah, it was terrible. And there were a few things like that. So Mark just happened to have benefited from us having spent 2 months trying to get the blue to work like green back at the shop. We still haven't done it completely because the initialization hardware zeroing is still in the back left and the back right. So those aren't identical, but most everything else, it behaves exactly the same. And that's what Mark was expecting. Yeah. And then this laser that seemed like it's been wired by somebody who'd never seen the laser before. And it just did all sorts of weird stuff.
but the thing is once you figure out there's a whole spaghetti worth of wires in there, but they only go to certain points, and once you figure it out, it's a fairly simple system.
It really is. But you wouldn't know that by the wiring. Ellen's right. There's a power supply. There's only so many things. In hindsight, I wired in my sleep, but let me tell you, when it's literally 10 minutes out of the pallet and all over the floor, it doesn't look so simple.
It doesn't.
And your
feel
wife's
that good
going,
either.
why did you spend $3,000 on this thing and you got to pour it all apart? So
Alan, I just wanted to take that side trip because I did remember seeing that Mark had done something I've never seen anybody else do, and that was flow control through the chiller, in addition to the flow control through the flow detector in the laser.
yeah. So the other thing that that on the video that we're going to watch here in just a few minutes anyway, that Travis is going to talk about, one of the things that oh, I've got my helper here. Look, say hi, Winter.
Hi.
Hey, Winter.
Go away.
Go away, he says. Okay. Hey, but in that video, the guy talks about using some terminals on the controller, on the RuiDa controller.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to control the airflow in the computer so that it doesn't run all the time. It only runs when you punch go.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
So I'm going to. I don't want to. He does two of them. One, he controls the air pressure, and the other one he controls the suction fan. I don't want to do the suction fan. Mine's not that loud. So, but I am going to do the other one. So let's see. The next one I want to talk about is this Milliamp meter, which costs like $10. It saved my new tube, because if I hadn't had this in line, I was going to operate my laser when I put the new tube in, just like I did when I had the old tube, and I pegged a 30 milliamp meter in like 1 second, and I shut my laser down real fast there. It tells you what you do. The tube tells you what your max current is on your tube. This is the hardest part of putting this thing in, was building the box.
Hey, maybe I can do it.
You can do it, I swear. So the mine, you can see the wire sort of coming down here and running in. You do need some high voltage wire. You can buy it places, or if you replace your power supply or your tube, you have it on your laser now, so you can just cut the old stuff off and use that. Basically, all you do is cut the negative wire coming out of your high voltage power supply and wire that into the milliamp meter.
So it's just in line. It's just in line with that. Okay.
It's in series with that, and the positive side of the meter goes to the tube. The negative side of the meter goes to the power supply. Very simple. I mean, mine ran for probably a month without a box. I cut a hole in the cardboard box and stuck the meter back in the cardboard box until I finally got tired of looking at the cardboard. But I tell you, you can watch it. You can set up your RuiDa controller so that your max power is never exceeded. I think we've done that at the shop. It doesn't matter if Lightburn says it's 100% or not. You set the controller up in the setup file where it's 90% or whatever it is of the tube. And you can set that by the milliamps so you don't exceed it.
And what was the maximum milliamp on your tube?
28. Hey, hit the road, Jack.
And that was the new 60 watt that you put in?
Yeah, that was a 60 watt one I put in. It was 20. I think all of them are right around 28 milliamps.
Okay. And the reason you put in the 60 watt rather than going higher, you had a reason for doing that. What was that again?
So I didn't want to change the tube holders. The tube, this tube is 55 millimeters. And if I went to an 80 or 100 watt tube, I have the length.
Oh,
now,
but you shifted the center of the diameter.
Yeah, I didn't shift the center. So with this box added on right here, now I've got the length to go to 100-watt tube and the diameter, but what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to have to change in here the 2 holders for the tube to go to a bigger set of holders and then have to deal with total realignment.
Right.
So
for those who don't know, the diameter has a center point, and your entire system is calibrated around where the tube goes into the current brackets and where the center point is that hits the first mirror. Everything is set up for that right now. As soon as you went to a higher power, the diameter changed, so both the clamps changed in terms of what they had to accommodate, and it shifted up and out to a different center point, and you would have had to recalibrate all of your
so the 60-watt stays the same so the 40-watt, 40, 50, and 60 watts stay the same diameter, and the tube just gets longer. But once you get above 60, you go to 80 or 100, the tube gets longer and it gets bigger around. Yeah. Actually, I think the 100 and 80 are both, I want to say 88 millimeters. It's 80 something millimeters. So I just didn't want to have to deal with having to do, replace those, do a total mirror, you know, a realignment of everything. I just wanted to sort of drop a tube in. Yeah. I was going through laser withdrawals, so I needed to do something real fast. So that's my 2 things. If anybody doesn't have any questions about that, I do have a couple of things I want to show. How to go to the 99-cent store and make something worth $10 or more. So my son has found the 99-cent store because my grandson goes through toys. So if you go to the 99-cent store, whoop, I'm pointing the wrong way again. If you go to the 99-cent store, you can buy these clipboards. They're just blank on the back. They cost 99 cents. They got a really cool little clippy thing. So the reason I started this was I wanted the clippy thing. I was going to make a really nice clipboard like people were making cutting boards. But I said, wow, I bet I could laze that. That's just MDF. So, of course, knowing Alan can burn anything. So it's the same front. This is my son's comic book store. He wanted some of these for his store, so maybe nobody would steal them. I told him they're going to steal them even worse now because now it's got a logo on it. So this is the one he wanted. He wanted the burn marks on it, and you can see where the smoke was, and I really didn't like that. So if anybody hasn't used this before, this is the sticky paper that we put on there, and you can tell how much smoke is on there. I haven't pulled, this is the first one I've done with paper on it, so I haven't pulled anything off. But I did spray the back of it with some shellac, because I know sometimes when you put tape on top of MDF and you pull it off, it makes fuzzies. So
is he going to sell these?
No, he's going to. Well, I asked him. I said, if they get stolen, you should sell them, because that means people want them.
Right.
But right now he's just going to use them to do inventory and stuff like that with them.
Got it.
So here's the cat toothpaste twirler. You just put the toothpaste tube through here and just twist it around and squeeze the toothpaste out. But I did some stuff for my one of the girls at work's daughter wanted some night lights, so I was doing some edge lit acrylic stuff. I don't know if you can. So this is just something I pulled off of the internet, but I took the acrylic, and after I etched it, or after this is actually a vector cut. After I cut it, or no, this is actually a cut. Will it focus up there close? There you go. This is actually an etch instead of a vector. This is also an etch instead of a vector.
So how'd you get the dark?
So I used someplace on one of the forums. They said use Marsh spray paint. Where's the thing? It's just called. That's it. Marsh spray stencil ink. That's what it's called.
Stencil. Okay.
It's supposed to dry real fast. It doesn't run like, it dries so fast it doesn't run like paint. If you've ever taken a piece of Baltic birch and put that paper over it and then sprayed it with black paint, it actually leaks into this Baltic birch. This is not supposed to do it. I just got it the other day, so I don't know if it works or not. It works. It does work really good on the acrylic. You can see. But what I did find is I've been doing when I do the lights with the acrylic, I've been doing vector on them. Well, I did the last one for her. She wanted bubble guppies. So I did bubble guppies, but I did etching instead of vector cut. And the amount of light that shows up because of the etch is just totally different than just doing lines in it.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So this I don't know if you can see it, it's sort of hard, it's clear, is actually this vase right here. So that's a 1-inch 25 millimeter test tube in there on this one. And then here's the same thing in acrylic. I did the same thing. Then I took the pattern down to 3/8 because I had some 15 millimeter test tubes and made it. And then this one, oh no, this one only has one thing, but the test tube pulls out and then this piece just pulls. Okay, now it's going to make a ladder out of it. There you go. This piece just pulls up, it folds flat, and you can put it in a cabinet when you don't have a bud vase.
Did you start this saying something about edgelit?
Yeah, these.
Okay.
The LED, putting the LED bases on them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You went from that to the bud vases, and I'm trying to figure out if you changed topics or.
No. I was just saying that I've always used just vector cuts when I was doing the edge lighting.
Yeah.
On stuff, and this I did the engrave on it, the fill.
Yeah.
And it actually makes it look totally different.
Got it.
When it's got LEDs on the bottom of it.
Yep. Okay. But you did this in the context of your bud vase project.
Yeah, I started out with the bud vase project, and then when I switched over to making the bubble guppy nightlight for my coworker, I said I tried both of them, and the etched one came out so much better. I didn't even take all the paper off the other one. I gave it to her. I go, here, if you guys want to break your thumbnails taking all this paper off, go right ahead. But this one's better looking, I guarantee you.
Right.
So, so that was my what I had for the night.
Yeah,
so Travis was going to talk about a little bit about this guy. I can't remember the guy's name. Russ.
Yeah, Russ. You guys probably, some of you have watched his videos in the past, but Alan, could you take your phone and just point at your laser again, just so everybody has an idea of what we're talking about? This guy has like 150 to 180 videos on just this laser. It's so popular. We have probably 6 or 7 of them within our community. They run for, I don't know, $1,400 or something like that. Alan has upgraded his, but it has a, let's see, it was a 12 by 20 inch cutting area. Is that right?
Yeah.
And about a 45 watt laser. But importantly, it has the RuiDa controller. And it is, just very decent machine if you're capable of figuring it out, which I guess what I'm saying is the documentation isn't that great, but in our community, you know, we're pretty familiar with it. So he's gone through and he's done, thank you, Alan. He's done, again, 150, going on 200 videos on just how he's upgraded this thing. And about 2 months ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, he says, I've come to the end of the road. And those of us who are fans said, oh no. And he says, don't worry, we're going to continue with videos. We're going to move on to a different kind of laser. And he said that Cloud Ray, which if you're not familiar with Cloud Ray, they're one of the big laser suppliers from China. Cloud Ray wanted to take all of his learnings and have him recommend specs that would take the kind of machine Alan has and make it a much better machine. Because this guy's tinkered with it for years now, 5 years, and he's just got all sorts of ways of making it better. So Cloud Ray is taking Russ's specs and he's going to put it into that machine and just make a really tight, high-speed, very effective version of that laser. That's not what I wanted to share with you, but that is sort of the backdrop. That's good to know. What I'd like to share with you, and I'd really like it to be a conversation where Alan jumped in, Mark jumped in, and anybody else who has one of these lasers jumped in. Let me bring up my browser. We'll go take a look at that video. I've got it positioned at the start of the video that I want to share with you folks. So in a couple seconds here it starts.
First of all, this is the relay for the air assist. Yeah, there's a connection on here called wind.
Did I get that right? It seems like we're a little bit into it. Let me take a look.
That's what I was talking about, was that relay right there.
Right. Let's see. I think I said starting at 3048. I was at 34. Let's go back to 3048. Okay, we'll start here.
I've redesigned a head that will fit that combination. Okay, so here is something else that I've added to the machine, which you can already buy from Cloud Ray as the Ultimate Air Assist kit. If you listen at the moment, there is no air assist pump on. If I turn it to manual, I've got full air assist coming out of here, which goes to the nozzle. And I don't have much choice on that. It's full air assist. But that's what I probably want if I'm doing things manually. Okay, if I want to do a little bit of cutting manually, then I need my air assist. But what happens when I turn it to auto is it's waiting for the cycle to start. So whenever I run a program, the first thing that happens in the program is it will turn the pump on, and it will then run the program. And regardless of whether or not there is air assist required or not, if not, you will just get a small trickle of air through here, which will protect the lens. And if there is air assist required and you say yes, then you will get this. So there's a selection, a programmable selection to low air assist or full air assist. And it also includes switching the pump on and off at the end of the cycle, at the end of your program. So you won't thrash your pump to death over its lifetime. It will only run as long as your program is running.
So that right there was something which we've in the shop always assumed had to be on. You turned your laser on and it turned on the air assist and it was just always on. I didn't even know about this little accessory from Cloud Ray that would allow for the trickle air at times and then full air when it's actually doing cutting. And I just thought that was a neat accessory. Alan, had you ever seen that before?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big a deal it is, but the compressor does make noise. And I suppose that if it was, I guess I don't know that the compressor isn't running. I suppose it would kind of have to be. I don't know the wiring behind this or the path for the compressed air, but let's assume that the compressor isn't running full time. It's one of the noisiest things going on when you're using a laser. So having it be able to just turn on when you need it and not otherwise, that was pretty cool. anyhow, that was the first thing that he had here.
So that kit with all the circuit diagrams, etc., are available through CloudRay. Now, to make life easier for myself, I've also added a couple of buttons on the front here. Now, some people already have these buttons. Mine was a switch on the side here, which is much.
If you don't know what's happening when he's hitting those buttons, look at the bed on the left. It's raising and lowering the bed.
Much more difficult to work.
Alan and I have manual Z-axes, so we actually have to crank. Mark's smiling right now because his is powered. But Alan and I have to turn this frustrating big thumb wheel, and it's not something I even had heard people going to the lengths of doing. I mean, obviously you could if you wanted to figure it out, but here he's got 2 buttons that raise and lower the bed. Just to hear him talk about it here is interesting.
We'll go big or go home.
I've got this, but even this, even though it is actually quite slow, it's got quite a lot of, if you look, it's got quite a lot of overrun when I let my finger off the button. I can't get very precise positional control if I want to use this for setting Z. And when I come to do photo engraving, I need very accurate control of Z. So I've also added a thumb wheel, which allows me to wind the table up and down manually in very small increments. Now, some of you guys will already have a big knob on the top here, which allows you to do it manually.
That's Alan and me.
You're probably very, very annoyed about that because you haven't got a motorized table. Don't let that worry you too much, because you can easily create your own motorized table very, very cheaply. Take the knob off, drill and tap a hole in there, something like...
I'm sorry, this is the cool part for me. This is just a hack, and I absolutely love it. So here we go.
M6. We can put an M6 cap screw in the top there. You wind your cap screw in until the nut touches, and then with a spanner, you tighten up the lock nut. And now you've created yourself a Hexagon Drive in the top there. And what does that do for you? Well, most people have got one of these. If you can find the appropriate Hexagon Drive, you have the opportunity of quickly winding your table up and down without spending any money on an extra motor. So without adding a motor, the guys that make these machines have only got to put a Hexagon Drive hole in there, and hey, your problem is solved. It costs them nothing and it costs you nothing, and you've got a motorized table. But there's...
Sorry, that just really appealed to me. It was so simple, and yet you could raise and lower Z in great distances with ease. I can see myself doing that, and I've been living with this current laser for about, I don't know, 5-6 years, frustrated with how slowly it moved. Now I had to crank it with my hand. Now, frankly, I'm not moving between stock that's that different, but occasionally I have a project where I'm doing some calibration, and I need to move it a lot, and it's just been a frustration. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Several interesting things that we could have a quick look at in this control panel. First of all, this is the relay for the air assist. Yeah, there's a connection on here called wind.
For those of you who don't know, the box that he's pointing at on the left, that's the RuiDa controller. What you see on the top of the laser is the head unit, the interface panel for controlling the RuiDa controller. And along those sides are all the terminals, and some of the things that they're labeled as are just totally not obvious what they're for. You're going to get a sense of that right now, and he's taking one that is not obvious and he's putting it to good use, and he's also extending the thought.
Which is how this is all connected in, and there are diagrams from that on the CloudRay website when you look up Ultimate Air Assist. Now I'm using that same control signal that comes out of there to initiate this timer relay. Now this is quite an expensive timer relay, which I happen to be using, and I have in my inventory anyway. I think it's about 50 or 60 quid. It's quite an expensive timer, but it's I mean, most delay off timers are quite expensive, and that's what this is. It's a delay off timer, which is connected into this socket here, which goes to my extract fan. So when I run a program like this, my air assist comes on because the pump starts at the beginning of the program. The pump stops at the end of the program, and the fan carries on X number of seconds beyond the end of the program. In this case, I've got it set to something like about 5 or 6 seconds, probably a little bit short, and maybe that should be set to about 10 seconds. But hey, this is quite an expensive way of doing it. Now, I'm going to have a word with CloudRay because they have got contacts with RuiDa. This CN1 set of terminals, one of the items on there is called status. And then we've got out 1 and out 2. At the moment, those out 1 and out 2 are unspecified. In fact, they are all operating the same, and they are all basically status. But I'm using the status one to switch the pump on and off in conjunction with the beginning and end of the program, which is basically what that status means. Now, it's possible that you could use one of these other outlets as a delayed off status. That would allow me to connect a cheap relay to control the fan off of here. Well, I was planning to finish the video at this point, but hey.
This is one of his hour-long sessions, and he thought he was going to be done. He had another 20 minutes of content. I can't remember what the idea was that he shared, but you just got a small sample of what he has spent years doing. One of the things that he's done recently, let me unshare my screen here. One of the things he's done recently is, Alan, when you run your laser fast, how many millimeters per second do you think you run it at?
Oh, the fastest it'll run is like 350 millimeters.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I don't think there's any difference between about 300 and up. I've pushed it faster, but I don't think it does anything. The time doesn't go down.
Yeah, because of the overlap that happens, the overrun at the edges to deal with the fact that it has to slow down, turn direction, and speed back up. Well, he's spent a whole bunch of episodes speeding that up. He has it to 1,000 millimeters per second.
Wow.
And he does it under a microscope to analyze, you know, the trade-offs of speed and acceleration and a few other things. And in his videos, you just learn so much. It's all those learnings that we, a community of people worldwide who just watch what he's done, have learned, and he is putting that into just a set of specifications. It's not like he's rewriting the machine, but the mirror number 2, he's reduced the head weight dramatically by changing the design. He can allow us to, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to the head, you don't have a lot of variability in the X and Y directions. You can't shift the head very easily. It's sort of attached to the gantry, and you can maybe move it up and down a little bit, but not left and right or forward and backward. He's put that in as an improvement, lowering the weight and adding adjustability. And he's just got a whole bunch of these things. And so if I leave you with just one last thought, other than the fact that these videos are great, and for those of you who have one of these lasers, there are some great hacks in just the few things that I showed you in the last 5 minutes. I'd say that the last 3 videos he did, which are the Russ specs videos 1, 2, and 3, they're worth watching because they end up telling you what the weaknesses are in this design of laser and how he is improving upon that. He's not improving upon it by throwing tons of extra cost at it. He's just redesigning and using different materials and different mountings and changing weights. And there's just a lot to be learned by watching him distill his learnings from all these years into a set of recommendations, which will then go back to CloudRay, and they'll come up with a special version of this laser. No doubt will cost a little bit more, but I'll be one of the first people on the list to get it because Russ put so much thought into this, and it's just going to be such a great laser. I just wanted to bring that to you folks' attention. Any questions about that? Looks like Alan threw in the Air Assist.
So that's the schematic.
Oh, okay.
So it's on CloudRay. They put the here. Let me share my screen for a second. They actually put the schematic on their website. So it costs $79 for this kit, and you get a relay, I don't know, some kind of off-on valve, reducer valve, flow restrictor, fittings, key pipe, the plug, and the diode. So you get the stuff to build it. And it looks like what it does, Travis, is if you look at the schematic right here, you can see the pump, airflow coming out of the pump to the right and down into this contraption here, which is some kind of solenoid valve assembly. So it goes straight through and you get full pressure from the pump, or it goes over this way and you can reduce the flow from the pump.
It's a restrictor. So the pump is still flowing. I mean, still
That's
on the whole time. What was that, Mark?
That's what I thought, because he made the comment. I was going to ask that when you got to a pausing point, that when the program wasn't running, the air was still flowing, but at a minimal level to protect the lens.
Yeah, that's what made me suspicious too. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I think Mark, what he was talking about is in Lightburn, you can you can tell it to use Air Assist or not use Air Assist.
So there'd be a secondary air source then, Alan?
So no, I think what it means is, let me bring up my Lightburn thing, what it's called here. Form dot cut through. So there's a radio button right at the top of the Lightburn. Go back over here. Go back.
I'm familiar with that setting. If you want to bring it up, that'd be great. But I'm familiar with that. But where is the trickle of air coming from?
If there's no other source.
I think what happens is if you turn this Air Assist off like this, it de-energizes that relay, and when you start cutting, it turns the pump on, but it sends the air through the reduced flow.
Oh, okay. Well, that would mean that it's off then a chunk of the time. That is, it's either on when the Air Assist is turned off here on your screen, but it's on going through the restricted flow. And if it's on as in green, the way you have it right now, then it would be not through the restricted flow, but through the full flow. Is that what? I didn't say that very clearly.
I think if you look at the schematic again, where it comes out of the controller, it's going to be hard to see here probably. But look right here where it comes out of the controller. You get 24 volts here for this for this relay and this relay, and the ground comes out of here for the control.
I understand the maximum minimum air delivery and how that works based on the schematic. That makes sense. But I guess what I'm trying to clarify in my mind is you're not actually turning off the pump. The pump still runs, correct?
No, I think you turn the pump, so the status turns the pump off and on.
Okay, so if it turns it off, he said there's a minimal airflow to the lens. Where's that coming from?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find here. So you get 12 volts here. So you get 24 volts to this relay. At the same time, you get 24 volts to this relay. Okay?
Alan, would you please buy this, install it, and then tell us?
I'm thinking really, actually, no, I'm not, because I don't, I only use full blast air. I mean, I'm going to see if I can buy that relay and that diode. That's all I want.
You just want on or off when
I just
cutting.
want it to, when it starts cutting, turn the blower on. When it stops cutting, turn the blower off.
Okay.
I don't need a half speed blower.
That restrictor.
Well, it depends though, right? If there's residual smoke, like it could be, you'd still want some minimal pressure to protect the lens so you don't end up with smoke residue on it, right?
Which was
Well,
Rusty's point. Yeah.
You still got your, but you still have your fan, suction fan, sucking
Okay,
out.
right. But what if you have a small smoking fire? So you're cutting paper, something that's smoldering in there. I think
Then you squirt it with water.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but I'm just saying, having bought lenses before, know how expensive they are. I think that tiny little bit of air assist is kind of important. I think that's what he was trying in the video was trying to say.
But if you have that, that means your pump is still running.
Well, that was my question. Yeah.
Yeah, I have my big lure in this was the fact that the pump might not be running the whole time. I'm not convinced that it still won't be running the whole time and just dampened or at full force. It sounds to me most likely it's running all the time. And yet, Alan, your alternate scenario, if you're willing to not have a low airflow to keep the lens clean, you could just have the air assist running when the laser is on, using the status to just trigger with a relay the air assist. And then when it's not running, you would stop. That's where you're headed, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing was, so I have 4 little aquarium air pumps. So the cheap man way to do this is right here, where you put a T right here, and then you run from the right hand side, you run in an aquarium pump, so it runs all the time. So when you put power to the pump on, you get this little, I mean, and it's a little, I mean, it's made for like a 10-gallon aquarium.
That's actually a pretty cool idea, Alan. So Mark, you have the aquarium pump going all the time, but you
I see. Yeah,
and it purrs compared to this other pump.
Yeah, interesting idea. Please let us know what you end up doing.
Now, my compressor is fairly far away from the machine, but I do know that because I subscribe to the theory that more air at the head is better, you do have a lot of rushing air at that head. So it would be quieter if you were to turn it off when it wasn't running. Because I run a lot of air through the head, but it's very rare unless I hit a pocket of filler or something in the 3 mil that I ever see any smoke.
So how much pressure do you have at the head?
Oh, it's the same one I bought for the shop, Travis. What was that? Like,
it was the mother of all compressors.
Yeah, it's a big one. I can look it up for you. They actually sell it. It's the largest one they sell on CloudRay.
All right.
Okay, so it's not a compressor. It's the air pump. It's not a compressor.
Correct. I apologize. I did call it a compressor.
Yeah, so I have that one.
Yeah.
So,
it's like 95 liters or something, or 130 some liters.
Like 112, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah, Randy, that's what we bought when Randy blew up. With the only one we could find that was what we thought was big enough, and it turned out it was bigger than what we thought.
Yeah.
And then after he started saying, "Oh my God, this thing's great," I want a small one too.
Well, I'm sure it's overkill, but rather than experiment with it, I just went big, and it worked so well, I just never went back to find out at what point is enough.
Yeah.
Well, there was a forum. There's a Facebook laser forum, laser page, and they were talking about it on there the other day. And some guy was running a shop compressor, literally a compressor, and he was running it through an oil filter and something else, and then a pressure gauge at the back of the laser, and he was pumping 30 psi of air into the laser.
Those Chinese lasers aren't made that well.
he's like, "Oh no, this is great. You got to have this much thing." And then one of the other guys goes, "Yeah, but you don't need any, hardly at all, when you're doing etching."
True.
I'm thinking, I use the same amount of pressure on everything I do.
Right.
So,
You get very little smoking though with etching.
Depends on how deep you're cutting.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Right.
well, then it wouldn't be an etch at that point, right, David? At what point is it no longer an etch?
Yeah, imagine I'm etching half the way through the 3mm ply.
Yeah, right.
That's an etch.
Yeah.
He's carving is what he's doing.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
was doing with those. That's why those clipboards came out so smoky, because I was probably going at least a millimeter in, if not a millimeter and a half.
Yeah. Smoke alarm. Hey guys, if you were all curious about the Rust videos, I just threw that link into the chat window. This is a super abundance. We've had a lot of ideas that have been introduced into our community from having watched those, from the molybdenum spray for being able to etch a metal. I think it had to be steel, stainless steel, to be able to do that. I mean, there were all sorts of ideas that came from watching those videos, and nobody that I know of has watched them all, but there are some really good ones, and at least the last three that were the Rust spec machine are worth watching, because they distill a lot of his learnings into what he's recommending back to Cloud Ray for a version of their laser. Mark, I may have stepped on you when you were about to say something else. Is there something else you wanted to say?
No, I was just teasing David about deep etches.
Yeah, he's the man to tease about that. Although I got to tell you, the koi.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. Yep.
Yeah, the one that you made for me. I'm thinking about infilling it with clear epoxy. I've only done a few things with epoxy, but I think
I can't take credit for that. That's literally David's entire plan. He has it on his webpage.
Oh no, I know.
Step by step. It's that. It
No,
was all his hard work.
totally get that. Yeah, I totally get that. But he didn't give me one. You did. I'm saying the one that you gave me is what I'm thinking about filling in with epoxy. I just think that might be a really cool look.
Yeah.
If I blow it, I might come back to you and ask you for another one, please.
Okay.
Great.
Do you have pictures of how your koi turned out?
I can send you a picture. It's just beautiful. I'll send you a picture.
And I did it on the blue, David. That was my whole thing, is you had done an amazing job on green, and I was bound and determined to figure a way to do it on blue. And so that's the one Travis has is actually done on blue.
Oh, nice.
Your blue
Did you
or
do the,
shop's blue?
My blue.
Okay.
Did you do the same kind of post-processing for the excessive amount of char?
Yes.
Nice.
I think I followed your instructions to the letter.
Mark doesn't do things half-assed. That's my specialty.
Well, I was just curious because you said you had a huge amount of airflow on your machine. If it came out cleaner initially as opposed to just making mess.
I did it on walnut, and walnut tends to char a little bit. The maple didn't char nearly as much, but that's a really deep. I think it's got to be. I don't know how deep that is, Travis, but that's a deep cut.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I haven't looked at it in a while, but maybe 5 millimeters.
Yeah,
it's really deep.
Cool.
I'll send a picture to. I'll post it when we get this video up for Alan, along with the chat, because that's always there, so you guys will have a picture and the links and everything else.
Sounds good.
All right. So does anybody else have anything cool to show before we wrap this up? No more cool things, Mark. You're not going to show us what you're drinking tonight, Mark? Is that what?
Yeah, Mark. What's up with that?
it's empty. No, I'm just joking.
Oh man.
And I will install my Milliamp meter one of these days, Alan. I feel guilty that I stole it from some nice guy that gave it to me and trusted me for the $10. And I'm using this virus as an excuse not to pay him, but I want to let him know that I do know I still owe him $10.
It's one of that guy says, it's more better. It's a lot better that you owe it to me than cheat it out of me.
That guy has had a lot of meters. I know I met him once too, and I got one from him.
That comes from ordering them from China and then having China stop sending stuff and then taking forever to send it, and then finding one locally and going and buying it.
Oh.
And then all of them show up and you have extra.
Yep. Got it.
All right. If nobody else has anything, I'm going to go eat a piece of birthday cake.
Happy birthday to whomever, Alan. And
Oh,
thank you for doing this.
It's my son's birthday.
Great.
Yesterday. So we're having
Have a good evening, everybody.
All right.
Bye,
See everybody
everybody.
soon.
See you around.
Bye-bye.